right, folks, John Rush today. My son Richard Rush behind the camera. Review of the 2016 Lexus GSF. And some of you are saying, GSF? Doesn't really look like a GS. Well, that's because it's a GSF, which is the basically sports car version of the GS. One of my all-time favorite cars is a Lexus GS. And frankly, with this complete F package, or being a GSF, is even all-time more favorite for me. This car is absolutely fabulous. It handles, it runs. It's just a blast to drive. I don't know how else to say it. The only downside to this car, you better get out your wallet. $86,875 for the car we drove. 2016 GSF. Let's get right into it. Richard, come around, show him the front. Great styling. This doesn't look like a normal GS because it's got a wider stance in the front. The fenders flare out. It literally has ducting for the brakes right down here that actually help cool the 6-piston front brakes, 4-piston rear. The side looks different. It's just got a lot different styling than you're normally going to find on the GS. It's actually got stacked tailpipes in the back for a really great sound, which we'll get into here in just a little bit. It's got sport mode, sport plus, eco mode. Every one of them does different things. It's got a fantastic transmission that literally looks at the G's on the car and how it's performing, and will actually adjust the transmission and how it shifts when you're in that sport mode. So, fantastic car, really works well. We've done lots of reviews on the GSs in the past, so if you want to see the normal GS, go look at the sidebar, find one of those. Real quick, Richard, pop the trunk. You've got the keys. Automatic opening trunk. This seal's a little bit tight, but it does have an automatic pop-up trunk. Works really, really well. Plenty of room in the back, really just like a normal GS would have. You're not losing any trunk room because of this particular model. It's got a nice big trunk. This is literally a luxury sports car. I don't know how else to say it. You get everything you want in a GS, and it's fast to boot. You'll see all the carbon fiber additions to it. Richard just showed you the spoiler a second ago. Outside of that, the best part about this car is the drive. We'll get into that in just one second. I tell you what, while I'm on this side and the lighting's good, let me just get into the back seat. I'll just show you what the back seat is like. By the way, Richard can show you beautiful interior on this car. So many compliments I've gotten on this car as far as the interior and the color and how it looks. Absolutely fabulous, Lexus. I love the way you've done it. So snow brush is in here because we are in Colorado. This seat, by the way, is in the exit mode, and you'll notice I got plenty of leg room here. No problem. Plenty of headroom, even with a little bit of the dip here for the sunroof. Plenty of room back here. Full down center console that does open up. And then, as you know, there is a pass-through, so if you got skis or something you want to run through, you can also do so. I'll hop into the front seat here in just a second and show you what the front seat's like, and then we'll take a drive in the 2016 Lexus GSF. All right, folks, one thing we wanted to show you, and I talked about it a moment ago, is the stacked exhaust, which they've got a really unique sound to, and it really does sound like a sports car. By the way, this has the 5-liter, 467 horsepower engine in it. Works phenomenal. They also have the ability that you can actually turn this on or off. It pipes some of the sound of the actual exhaust back into the vehicle to give it more of that sporty sound. You can turn that on or off. I'm going to fire it up. Richard's going to head around to the back, and we'll show you exactly what the exhaust does sound like on this particular vehicle. And you can tell even from just the crispness of the exhaust how well this car actually runs. It's hard, again, for us to even show you on a short test drive the ability that this car has, but this is a track car. It's designed in such a way that you can take this car out on the track on the weekends and yet still drive it to work Monday morning. It has the ability to also know when you're out on the track driving, it actually runs HVAC for the front passengers, but does nothing in the back. So if you're out on a really hot day on the track and you still want the comfort in the front, it'll handle that, and it avoids using any extra energy. So you have more for the track by not doing anything in the back seat. Sunroof, which I showed you a moment ago from the back seat. Here it is in the front. Nice feature. And again, the rest of this, it's all pretty much the same as a regular GS, minus the really nice seats. Richard's showing you the F built into the seat. These are really high performance seats. They make it fits extremely well. You just feel like you're sitting inside of a sports car. And Richard said a moment ago, this is much like the RCF with 2 additional doors. This car just works, handles, runs. I really, really enjoy it. So I tell you what we'll do. Without further ado, we'll put Richard in the back seat. We'll take a little drive in it. There's no need for me to go through the rest of the interior because the Mark Levinson sound system, all the rest of what's in the car is pretty standard on a GS, which to me is just another added feature that the car has. Again, only downside to this car, and I think you can kind of tell where my opinion is, its price. Get your wallet out, folks. Let's go for a drive. All right, folks, we're now going to take a quick drive in the car. Before we do that, we always like to show you backup camera. Pretty standard. Love the split screen that Lexus does. Does have dynamic grid lines. That's pretty standard on a GS. You're not going to get anything different here than what you would normally get. The modes I told you about a moment ago. Right here is your button. Eco, Normal, Sport S, Sport Plus. All that's controlled out of here. The TBD button, which you have standard, slalom, track, and then back to standard. That's all controlled out of here. And then there is a snow button for those of you that I guess would feel like this car would be worth driving in the snow, which, by the way, I would not be one of those. We're getting some snow this weekend, and the reason we're doing this review today is because I'm not driving this car in the snow. It's just not meant for that. So just as a side note, paddle shifters up here. The rest of the layout here is pretty standard as far as what you would expect in Lexus. Heads-up display on the model that we're driving, and the only option on this particular vehicle is the Mark Levinson sound system, which, by the way, I looked up, adds 299 watts. Or it shouldn't say add, it's 299 watts, 7.1 surround sound, and it's a $1,380 option. Again, love the way the interior is laid out in this car. You just sit here, you just feel right at home. Everything is right where it needs to be. Love the suede dash. Let's take a drive. And I'm just in the normal mode here, and you can see this car just flies. I'm not even in Sport Plus, and the car flies. So if I went to Sport Plus and got on it, you even felt a little bit of wheel slip back there just in the normal mode. Wasn't even power braking the vehicle. If you go to Sport Plus, it's even that much more of a ride. This is one of those cars where you really have to get out in it. You have to drive it. You have to understand what you're buying. This is not your normal GS. You're going to pay more money for this car, and rightfully so. You're getting performance in this car that competes with a lot of the European cars that are out there. And what I'm just going to tell you is this car just flat works. It's one of the most favorite cars we've had so far to drive. Going to pull over here for just a second and get my son Richard's opinion on it. He drove it for a few days. I'm not even going to give you fuel economy numbers because, frankly, I don't care. It's the low 20s. This car is such a blast to drive, though. Richard, you're behind the camera. What's your thoughts and opinions on this car?
I thought it was fantastic, kind of what you mentioned before with the RCF. It's a 4-seater sports car, which you don't find many of. With all the capabilities that you would like, it's going to even compete with some of the American muscle cars. And for those of you that don't like turbochargers and superchargers, here's a naturally aspirated V8 for you. And yes, it's, I guess, a Japanese-made car. However, it just flat out works. It's a blast, and if you can afford it, I think it'd be pretty hard to pass this car up.
Yeah, this is a car people keep asking me, this is a car you would own? Positively, absolutely, yes. In fact, I would buy this car because of the way it rides, handles, and how quiet it is on the inside compared to some of its German counterparts, BMW and others. Frankly, I would buy this car. It's less money than some of its counterparts with the same type of performance you're going to get. And I know you're going to be some haters out there that are going to ditch me for saying this. But this car competes well with its European counterparts. And frankly, if I was out shopping, I'd save the money. I'd buy this car. I'd have just as much fun driving this car as some of you guys driving the European cars would. And frankly, I would enjoy the ride, the comfort, and the interior of this car better than some of its European counterparts. So with that said, if you're really interested in this car, go check it out at your Lexus dealer. There's not a plethora of these cars out there. You're not going to find as many inventory, as much inventory on this car as you would a standard GS. So go check this car out at your local Lexus dealer. When you do, tell them John and Richard Rush, I should say, from Drive Radio sent you.